Hey guys, this is going to be another video about the Wakooshi Saturn Outworld nest. As I mentioned in my previous video, the more I looked at it and saw it in action, the more benefits I saw. So this is kind of a follow-up review now that I've had the ants in it a while. I'm in love with it and would love to eventually put all my colonies in Saturn nests. It makes things so easy, plus has a load of benefits. I also think it's very cost effective because it would definitely cost more if you was to buy an outworld the size of this one and then buy a nest of the same size that the tubes provide. Plus buying a separate nest and outworld would take up twice the amount of shelf space. It also saves you money because it grows with your colony, so no need to buy a found-in nest, then a small, then a medium, then a large. With the Saturn, it grows with your colony. You can just add a test tube of ants and then whenever they need more space, just add another tube. I see so many people buying nests that are too big for their colony, and I'm guilty of that too, and the ants starting to store rubbish in their nests, which looks horrible. The Saturn completely solves this issue. The Saturn is so easy to keep clean and maintain. With its really decent size opening on top, you can get your hands in there and tidy up and remove rubbish. And if part of the nest area was to get dirty, you just replace the test tube. No having to move the whole colony out of a normal flat style nest to be able to clean it out. The Saturn really does make life so much easier for the ant keeper, and it's a lot less stress on the ants themselves. I think the Saturn is super low maintenance. No hassle with worrying if you are under or over hydrating the nest. You have the water in the test tubes instead, and that lasts ages. So for species like Mesa, I would leave a couple of tubes dry for seed storage, and then the rest I would fill with water. And then in theory, you could leave them for a couple of months without ever having to disturb them. As long as they have seeds, they should be absolutely fine. So no worries if you need to go away on holiday or whatever. I love that you don't have to hydrate the nest and run the risk of overhydration. The Saturn really does take away the risk for human error. It's the same with temp. I have both our Saturns on heat mats and I can visually see that they are all okay. If they were moving and stuffing themselves all into the top tubes, I'd know that the heat mat was way too hot, and vice versa. If they were all staying in the lower tubes, I'd know that the heat wasn't rising enough. Having the heat mat below the Saturn gives me great heat gradient. For anyone struggling with temps, the Saturn is great. Watch the ants' behaviour and you'll see what they prefer. I've never been one to trust the cheap thermometers. I just watch the ants. If they move away from the heat, I know it's too hot. And if they cling to it then I know it's too cold. Again, letting the ants choose how far away they are from the heat mat lowers the room for human error significantly. I love how convenient it is for inbreeding species, especially if you want to give part of the colony away. It's just a case of popping out a test tube full of ants and replacing it with a fresh one. No trying to catch part of the colony in the outworld and hugely disturbing the nest. It's all ready with the Saturn, and I absolutely love that feature. Also, I know a few who harvest brood from one colony to give to another. How easy would the Saturn make that process? Again, so much less stress on the colony too. Even with multi-queen species, if the colony is getting too big to handle, like Nico's for example, the Saturn would make it so easy to split the colony into two. It's so versatile and suitable for most species. Literally, all of mine could go into the Saturns apart from my trapjaws, because I think they'd just prefer a more natural setup. The only other thing I would think about would be if you had a super large queen. She may struggle to get up into the tubes. But even if that was the case, you could just put a test tube on the floor underneath the racks of tubes, and she could live in there quite happily, and the workers would still have access to all the other tubes for all the brood. So technically, even if you had a humongous queen, you could get away with it by just doing what I said. Plus, the Saturn is even suitable for tiny species. It's very secure. We keep Theodule palladula in one of ours, and the workers are teeny tiny, and they cannot get out. I think one of my favourite things about the Wakooshi Saturn Outworld nest is the viewing. All of my colonies are on shelves in my living room. With the standard flat nests, unless you're standing directly over them, you can't see them at all. With the Saturn, it doesn't matter where I am in the room, I can see them, and I love that. Plus, it's just so sleek and pretty looking. It's freaking awesome. It currently comes in two sizes. A medium, which is 5 medium test tubes, which are the standard 15mm by 100mm, and an Outworld, which is 14 centimetres long, 15 centimetres wide and 13 tall. And the large, which is the ones we have, is the 7 larger test tubes, which are the 16mm by 150mm, and in a really decent sized Outworld, which is 20 centimetres long, 20 centimetres wide and 18 tall. And soon there's going to be an extra large version, which will have 14 of the large test tubes, and the Outworld will be double the large Saturn. So huge. I'll definitely be getting my hands on one of them as soon as they are available. Plus, they all come with ports to extend, making things so easy. 13mm tubing will directly connect it into the Venus, or simply pop out the tubes from the Venus and put them directly in the Saturn. It's so convenient. I know a few people started off being a little concerned about the light in the nest area, but as I proved in my last video, where I demonstrated that the light does not bother the ants at all, only the vibrations do. And being in the Saturn, they experience even less vibrations, because you're not disturbing them when removing the lids to the nest to check on them or to hydrate them. I think it's obvious that I love the Saturn Outworld nest, and I'm sure you can understand why. It very fast became our favourite setup. It's just awesome. 10 out of 10, 5 stars, highly recommend. Anyway, I think I've bragged about our new awesome setups enough for one video, but you'll definitely be seeing more of them on my channel. As always, thanks for watching, take care, stay safe, bye.